Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Uh, yes, we are in Leo season. Oh my goodness. I went on a massive hiatus recently, uh, and quite dramatically. By the way, I'm in the kitchen doing my thing while I'm recording this because, hello, mother, multitasking all the time. So yeah, hiatus. I dramatically just went off the rails recently. Uh, I always joke about it and always talk about how, oh, my Virgo husband, he is most certainly the one to go for advice, but never for sympathy. And I still don't remember or think of this after 8 years of being together. Uh, but a few months ago, we had this huge conversation, and I was like struggling hardcore with like my life and, you know, really like accepting my role as a mom. Uh, Not that, I don't love my daughter or I regret having my daughter, but more so being in that transition phase and entering that mother phase was really, really hard for me. I am a very, very independent person. I am a very like free spirited woman. I have been my whole life, which is what led me to this particular podcast episode and why I wanted to, make this my comeback topic. Uh, but this is for all of those women that have been told that you're too much, have been told that, you need to fit into a box, a particular label. And you know what? Frankly, I'm fucking done with it. I'm just done. I've been done for so long, done with so much, done with the bullshit I've been accepting. I've been done with giving away my power just so effortlessly. Ugh. And yeah, if you've been feeling that too, stick along. Um, I recently joined this group or like rejoined this group and joined this challenge, yada, 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 as we all do, that we all find these ways to get re-inspired. And this totally re-inspired me to be the person that I have been before, that I want to be again, that I've forgotten about so many years ago. And yeah, here we are. Here we are. So being that woman is really boiled down to, all right, you know the quote, right? Well-behaved women rarely make history. Well, I'm not trying to make history, but I'm also not trying to be brushed along the sidelines and be forgotten about so easily. Again, going back to that free spirit and that independent nature of mine and wanting to inspire those around me to really do the same. I mean, just women in general. Um, Whether you were born a woman, you have always been a woman, and you're becoming a woman, you know the drill. All of that is included in this. They have put in us. Clearly, I need more coffee on this one. They have put us into a box, and that quote is so important, but it really is just so deep. It goes so deep, more than changing history. I believe that we have accepted being complacent, accepted not speaking up, and not just towards men. This is also towards other women. We have taught to be competitive, to be quiet around each other, to, you know, not be friends with that woman. Oh, you don't want to be friends with her. She's too much. She talks too much. She's too powerful. She's too influential. You know, Keeping us separate, and that's such bullshit to me. Oh God. I'm thanks to my friend if she's listening. One of my besties got me into this show that I absolutely love right now. It's The Gilded Age, and right up my alley, right? I love that era and time, and just these strong women in it. And there's a particular character in it that the entire, well, actually, there's a couple of the women that are shunned. One, because she comes from new money, which, if you know anything about old money, new money, you understand that topic. And people don't want to talk to her because she is trying so damn hard to be part of society, but because her husband is a wealthy man and a self-made wealthy man versus old family money, she gets shunned by society, and nobody wants to be her friend or talk to her. And then there's the other woman that I absolutely think is fabulous, but she fell in love with somebody, and she's shunned because she fell in love with this wealthy man, and he was married, which I don't really agree with, but he was in an arranged marriage, and they fell in love. She was a wild, free spirit, independent woman, and they had a child outside of his marriage, yada yada yada. And while I don't condone cheating, if anybody understands like that generation and this whole like Victorian, you know, pre-industrial, whatever, societal standards, that absolutely wasn't accepted. The fact that he did not have a child with his wife and he had it with this woman that he fell in love with. Anywho, wife died, and he ends up marrying this woman, and no one would have known except someone figured out the math and realized that this child was his, and it's this whole big thing. But no one will talk to this woman, and it's she's like so cool about it. She's just doing her own thing. She's like, whatever, that's on them. Can't control other people's opinions. And if you talk to her, you get shunned, and it's all because she's just herself. She's doing her damn thing. She's not giving a fuck all about what other people are thinking. And it goes along with this whole like, stop being so well behaved. I'm so tired of hearing that my entire life. Oh, you're such a good friend. Oh, you're such a good worker. Oh, you're such a good daughter. Oh, you're such a good this. You're so well behaved. And why? Why was I so well behaved? Because I was taught that that was the only form acceptable to me. That being that perfect daughter, that perfect image, the perfect person was like such a big deal. I was always the perfect worker. I was always the perfect, and it wasn't honest. It wasn't true to myself. And I was allowing conversations to happen that I didn't appreciate. I would be quiet when I should have spoken up. I should have put my foot down when things, were being done to me that just weren't respecting my space and my nature. I particularly remember a few instances like being at work. We'll start with work, right? I talk about this art store all the time. If you go in my past vlogs and any of my YouTube videos, I do talk about this art space that I worked at because it was very significant to me. I loved this job before it went corporate. It was very Empire Records. I loved this job. And then we got this new general manager, and she was phenomenal. I loved her. But for some reason, like with all the other things, and that's a whole nother story, anybody on the East Coast, when I had my maiden name, could Google my parents and see who they were, and treated me with such contempt. And I think it's called nepotism, nepo babies. I wasn't really that famous. No, my parents were, but I wasn't. Uh, and took their hatred out on me, y'all. as great as it was to be born into a wealthy family, that does not mean it did not come with complications like everybody else. But that, like I said, is a whole nother ball game. So anyhow, I kept getting passed by for promotions. And I finally stood up for myself at one point and I was like, what in the actual fuck? Like, I'm the only one that's here consistently. There was one time I worked for a total of 12 days in a row. I worked a 12-day shift because these people kept calling off. Or 12-day shift, Jesus. I worked a 12-day work schedule. And this was when I was making like 750 an hour, man. This was before like living wages was a thing, right? So yeah, the paycheck was great. But then this guy came in and he was a little older. And I mean, maybe like 5 years older than me. He really wasn't that much older than me. And the manager was that, it was, you know how retail is, where you're like in the running to be like an assistant manager or manager or whatever. So the manager, the general manager at the time, was like, "Okay, it's down between you two." And then I came in for my next shift, and she was like, "Oh, so I just wanted to let you know we gave it to him because as a man and as someone older, he knows more than you." And I lost my ever loving shit, but I did it very like a good girl. I was like, I started to cry. I'm not gonna deny that I'm an emotional person, and I looked at this general manager and I was like, "Are you kidding me? This guy's been here for like a month. Like he's only worked here for a month. I've been here for a year and worked my ass off. I just did this 12-day schedule and what in the actual fuck? My resume is like 4 pages longer than this dude. I'm in this office all the time. Compare our resumes and tell me that he knows more than me." Lo and behold, like I cannot make this up. Literally, like 2 weeks later, the guy gets found for stealing. And not only was he stealing from this store, he was also doing a scam between two states with unemployment. So he was getting two paychecks from the unemployment office. I don't even know how he accomplished that. It was apparently in like different states, and they didn't at the time like look in between both states or whatever. So then I got the position by default. Okay. Well, I take my position very seriously, and I started to put my foot down. We would have these employees put, call out. Like one time I had somebody call out because their boyfriend needed to go to the junkyard for a bumper and he needed moral support. I cannot make this up, y'all. I cannot make this up. I worked alone, which is very illegal. You cannot be by yourself. I worked alone for 6 hours. I ended up having to call because nobody would come in. Nobody wanted to come in on their day off to help me. I had to call the guy I was dating at the time, who didn't even work for the company, okay, to come help me so I could go take a piss, right, after 6 hours of being by myself. Uh, I finally got a hold of the general manager, and you know who got in trouble? Why did I get in trouble? Well, you're not supposed to work by yourself. The company could get fined. And I was like, well, who was that supposed to call? Ghostbusters? No one came. No one answered their phone. You didn't even answer your phone. Uh, that was like the first red flag. Then, uh, I started to like write people up. I'm sorry, you're not showing up to work. That's a write up. This is what a manager does. Oh, you're like 45 minutes late to your shift. That's a write up. Like, I'm not playing around. I'm like, I'm here to make money. I don't know who's paying your bills, but not me. I ended up getting demoted. This was right before I quit, but I ended up getting demoted because people called me a bitch for making them do their job. Yeah. So this goes along with the being that woman, right? And then like I don't know what happens. Like there's parts of me that I get so confident at times and I'm like, yeah, put my foot down, respect me, and like, do the damn thing. And then I'll go through like these long periods of time where I'm like, oh, meek as a mouse. What the hell? Like, which I'm slowly figuring out that it's also very astrological. I do have a lot of Capricorn in my chart, which explains a lot of like the work ethic and a lot of the like commanding respect. I have a lot of Scorpio. I have both a Scorpio and a Capricorn stellium, so I joke about being a grounded psychopath. Um, and I think that makes me very emotional. I have an Aquarius sun, and I think that's where like just everything's competing with each other. Hold on. Do you want more? Well, as I'm off screen giving my toddler snacks. But I think that's also a normal thing that women go through because it takes us so long for most of us, bless y'all who are like that bad bitchery to do this on a constant basis. But I think so many of us fear our confidence, fear our power, our magic, our being. We're taught that that's such a bad thing. Oh, you talk too loud. Oh, you're too emotional. Oh, you say too much. Oh, you're hurting that person's feeling because you're too honest. You know how many times I put people in their place and then I'm the one that feels bad when they're the one that's hurt me or hurt somebody else? Too many times. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. That's, why we're all on Substack and that's why we're doing these things and, blogs and Instagram, whatever. And, we need more of that, y'all. We totally need more women to show others that it is completely acceptable, possible, and damn near time to do all of this. We need to stop letting this misogynistic energy of keeping us small, keeping us in this box, to keep us, being the well behaved women, right? Uh, Another example I like to give people that's like the biggest example of how they put women in a box, right? So I highly recommend going to read the book Breakfast at Tiffany's. I always tell people, I tell friends, I tell coaching clients, I tell so many people to read this book. I love Audrey Hepburn. I am definitely a fan. I've always been a fan. And I watch Breakfast at Tiffany's all the time. So this isn't to say that I don't like their version, but the book and the movie, they are no comparison. They are completely different stories with just the same name characters, okay? So, spoiler alert, just letting y'all know, just skip ahead for the next couple minutes if you don't want a spoiler. But in the book, she was a free and independent woman. She had her own apartment. She was bisexual. She smoked weed and drank and partied. She told men about themselves. She refused to give her power away to these men that felt that they were owed for giving her something. Oh, I'm going to pay for your dinner. You owe me sex. Oh, I'm going to pay for the powder room. You owe me another date. And this was why her character was so important. And Truman Capote, who wrote the book, highly recommend his other books. His work is amazing. Um, he was someone that was in the closet for a very long time, and she represented what he wanted to be. He wanted to be confident and in his own. And he met this woman in New York who Hollywood is written about, or based off of, I should say. And okay, I'm almost done. And when Hollywood wanted to make this movie, uh, this is teaching women how to be independent. This is teaching women to be free spirited and have a mind of their own. So they rewrote the story to what the movie is, right? She was meek and insecure, and uh, like, yeah, she always had a drink in her hand and she smoked a cigarette, but that was like all that was as close to the book, right? Um, she did have somewhat of a confident, like, speaking up for herself in the parts where, refusing sex from guys, as you see. But, again, it was still up 50s, 60s, like, within limits. But it really was written to show women that essentially all we're worth is to fall in love and get married. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I'm married and I love my husband. But that does not mean you have to give up so many things about your life and who you are. Um, and there's so much of this throughout history. One of my biggest fangirl uh, people to read about. I love Bad Behaved Women. Here's another book, by the way. Please read Sex with Kings. I forget the author, but it is an amazing story, or stories, a collection of stories of all these women throughout history that were changed throughout history so that their real essence um, you know, wasn't passed down, whatever, okay? And how what they went through just for positions of power or just to help the economy. Um, she's talked about in this book, and highly recommend the version of the movie or the movie version of her story with Jeanne Dubarry. I think that's how you pronounce them. I'm horrible at pronouncing other languages and like names. Bless her. But in certain movies, she's portrayed as this horrible concubine style mistress for the Sun King. And in actuality, she did so much for the monarch and like the French political system. She was the one to actually get Marie Antoinette to come from Austria to France to marry his grandson. She was the one that spoke up for the people. And yeah, the king spoiled her, and no, I'm not saying she's perfect. I mean, there definitely were things she did that were a little like, but God, if you read about her and you watch this movie, y'all, it shows like what these men would do to her just because she was happy being herself. I mean, there is one scene in this movie, and it's actually true. Like, I read about this, where she's taking a bath, she's relaxing, she's taking a bath, she's minding her own business, and her lover, I guess you could call him, boyfriend, I don't know what they called him back in the day, comes in and is pissed because she's just doing her own thing and she's not doing what he wanted. And he starts beating the shit out of her and doing stupid shit. Leave this woman alone. Let her read her damn book, right? So this is what I say, like, you know, these are the things to pay attention to. It's well-behaved women rarely make history, and the reason is because when you choose to step outside of that box, everybody freaks out, and that's why we get made into history, you know. And oh God, there's so many. Uh, ooh, it's like literally my laptop is literally like on a ledge and I'm like trying to read my notes off. But think of like all these women, right? So I talk about her a lot, Marie Antoinette. She gets portrayed as this spoiled little rich girl that, wasted all this money. And I did do an episode about this a while ago because they're using her so-called phrase "let them eat cake." Y'all, that was a man writing that in a propaganda pamphlet to get her killed, essentially. She never said that. There's no record of her actually saying that, but there is record of this fucking person putting it in this propaganda pamphlet. And if you watch the Sofia Coppola movie with Kirsten Dunst, they actually make reference to that. She looks at the pamphlet and is like, I'm not going to acknowledge this. I would never say that. Like, I know my people are starving. And if you look at it from like a standpoint of a woman, like this woman was 13 years old, spoke no lick of French, okay, was shipped off to another country, was not allowed to have anything from Austria, not even a locket. She was not allowed shit, and she got everything removed from her. She went into France as a French aristocrat and had to forget Austria, okay, at 13 years old. When I was 13, I was still playing with like Polly Pockets and shit, okay? I could not imagine being shipped off to get married. Then she gets put with this guy who they have speculated was not into women, by the way. And he was also, I think he was like 14. And you're putting a pair of teenagers and you're like, okay, go make babies. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But no, then he didn't want anything to do with her, so he spoiled her. He just kept letting her buy stuff and gamble, and they both had a gambling problem. They only talk about her flaws. They never talk about the fact that he used the rest of their coffer to support the American Revolution. We don't talk about this. Why don't we talk about this? Why are we talking about his flaws? Why are we talking about the fact that she had a gambling issue, but he didn't? We don't talk about his gambling issues. We don't talk about his hunting and, being away for months. And she was left to manage the court, manage the fucking, responsibilities. We don't talk about that, right? Let's talk about Anne Boleyn. She was very ambitious. She was very free spirited, very independent, and everybody kept trying to put her into a box, put her into a box, put her in a box. And we all know her story. That poor girl ended up beheaded. They damn near erased her from. Oh my gosh, if you I watched this documentary where this woman was trying to find uh evidence and references to Anne Boleyn from that period of time, and the only thing I think there was left was like her necklace and one monogram insignia that they forgot to paint over. But we're not going to talk about this crazy syphilis fucking fool that was beheading women left and right just to bang them. Come on. We have Elizabeth the First, same kind of thing. She married her country. She refused to get married because she knew if she got married, all the power would go to her husband. I talked about Jeanne du Barry. Uh, oh man, I read this one. I just listened to a podcast. I mean, not read, but again, I am so sorry for pronouncing this wrong. LaDonna of the Dead, Ladonia. Um, but she fell in love with somebody, and it was below her economic status, and everyone in her family, don't marry. You can't marry him. You're not allowed. Don't marry him. Don't fall in love with him. And this man apparently would come to her window and like sing to her all the time, and being teenagers, I'm sure they did a lot more than just sing to each other. But there was at towards the end of their story, they were going to run away together, and she was getting her stuff ready, and he was waiting for her like across the way over the roof or whatever, like while she was getting her stuff together, and she was going to climb out the window, and he was murdered. Her family found out, and they had people, mercenaries, kill him, and she watched the whole thing. Okay, baby, I'm almost done. And she ran away from home. And for the next several years, she dressed as a boy, revenged her boyfriend's death. And I think it was like after like 15 years, she finally returned home as a boy, as a man, and confronted her parents when they realized it was her. It was like this whole big to do. I don't even think she got married after that, but I think like they finally realized, oh, okay, here we go. Lilith, y'all, Lilith, that is the biggest one right now that I am so into dark goddesses at the moment and dark feminine power. And it's mainly all of these goddesses and women that dark feminine power, everybody think, oh, evil, evil. No, no, no. It's dark feminine power because it's power that was taken away or given away freely or forced because they were independent, free thinkers, free spirited. And think of Lilith's story. You know, she was like, I'm not going to be submissive to you. I'm sorry, what? No, no, I'm out. You can have this garden. You can have this box. I'm out. And then they demonized her because she did her own thing. But if we switch the roles and the man left, he would be icon. Why can't I not talk today? Idolized. We'll just say idolized, right? Uh, Another one. Let's see, the Whore of Babylon. I'm reading about her now, and she was, same kind of thing, like free spirited, and uh she wasn't really a whore, y'all. She really wasn't. Okay, she was just, again, free spirited, independent woman, and they used her to solidify our fear and anxiety of being that woman. Um, one of I don't know if any of y'all are Lily Allen fans. I highly recommend listening to Hard Out Here for a Bitch, I think it's called, but I think it's just called Hard Out Here or something like that. But she talks about that. She talks about, I'm not doing what I'm doing in the kitchen, but I love to cook and I love, love my shit. I love being a homemaker. Uh, but she talks about how I'm not going to talk about my personal life because if I did, you would judge me against it. But when a man does it, it's considered amazing. Oh, wow. Another one, The Man by Taylor Swift. I was not a fan of Taylor Swift until I heard the song and realized, wow, she's a bad bitch. She got it. Look at her. She's putting it back in everybody's faces. Highly recommend to listen to this song, The Man. Okay. It is literally what I say so often to so many of my friends. And it's really just about being a bad bitch and everybody judging you for it, mostly men, and what that leads to. I'm almost done, baby. You can hear my toddler having a tantrum in the background. It's kind of comical. Um, so anyway, I've closed it out because I'm babbling at this point and I'm way past my notes. And my toddler's having a tantrum. Uh, it doesn't just have to be a male versus female thing. It can also be within your friends. Something that I'm going through right now, and realizing I'm being ghosted by people I've known for years only because I'm being too much, because I'm saying things and they're not used to me saying things. I don't hold any ill will towards these people. I still love these people, but just tell me you don't want to put up with me, or just tell me you don't like me anymore. Be honest. Oh, you can't? Oh, you're just going to ghost me. That's way easier, right? So, you know what I did? I deleted every number and I deleted all these text message threads. Let's see how you like being ghosted, right? That's kind of the level of done I am, right? But closing out this podcast episode and this babbling conversation, be that woman, be that bad bitch, be that iconic person that represents confidence and power to other people. We need it. It is an act of defiance to be yourself. It is an act of defiance to be free spirited, to be independent, to not put up with the bullshit that's given to you. You know what? Someone disrespects you, you let them know. And this goes for me too. I'm looking at myself in this camera. You need to let people know how they make you feel, even if it hurts them, even if it hurts you. And with that, my loves, I will see you again soon.